President Trump went on Logan Paul's show this week. And I want to talk about this because this is so brilliant. And, this Logan Paul appearance, this is 100% Charlie Kirk's idea. Vivek Ramaswamy, I don't think is that involved because I keep seeing Ramaswamy posting things on Twitter, little videos, and he's always like in Italy or something.
Vivek doesn't have a whole organization like Turning Point. I mean, Charlie Kirk, you've been to Turning Point USA. They're all over the place.
Well,
they have like huge events. Vivek's like a guest. Charlie Kirk actually is in the mix and organizes these things and goes to colleges and does all kinds of stuff.
I told you when I went to Turning Point and I was in the room with President Trump and Charlie Kirk, you could see the chemistry between Charlie Kirk and Trump. They're like really friends. Yeah. It's not like some business arrangement kind of acquaintance. They're really friends. They're really tight. And you know how you get that sense from people, you get that feeling. And Charlie Kirk 100% got Trump to do this Logan Paul interview.
Yeah.
And,
I think so too.
It's a really smart thing because, young people, I think young people, contrary to what you might see like at Columbia University, I think young people have a respect for this country much more than you would imagine. And they want to have a father figure like leader to look up to. And, Logan Paul, who, by the way, is a really good actor. We saw him in that remake of Valley Girl. Remember that? A year or two ago. He was in the remake of Valley Girl. He played the boyfriend. And
that was him?
That was Logan Paul.
Are you sure?
No, he wasn't the main. He was like the weirdo boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now. That's a good movie.
He wasn't the lead. He was supporting. And I was blown away at what a great actor Logan Paul is.
The music was good in that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not as good as the original. But it's very good. The music is spectacular. But Logan Paul's a very good actor. And
I remember that now.
And he's very famous. And he has a massive audience of millennials and Gen Zers. And, President Trump, what he's been doing is masterful. He's been chipping away at strong, long-time, secure Democrat voting blocks. Last week, of course, when he talked about eliminating the tax on tips, the tip workers, he's going to take them. Blacks, other groups, Hispanics. He's polling better among Hispanics than Biden. And this thing with Logan Paul reaching out to young people, it's amazing.
It's very different, and this is what I've talked about before, how important perspective is.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good in lots of ways that Trump is not president now, because so many things have been exposed in the last 3 years that never would have been exposed, and it's given him perspective on he can look back. And I don't want to say learn from anything, but you learn from life. And I really think he is approaching things so much more differently than he used to.
Completely different campaign.
Do you guys notice that? Do you notice it's a different
campaign.
tone? It's a different campaign. I don't want to say Trump's humbled, because I think he's always a humble guy. But he just seems just different to me.
I give you an example.
You know what I mean?
I give you an example.
It's a different tone.
Just from today.
Yeah.
There was this fake news story yesterday that Trump was saying terrible things about Milwaukee.
Yes.
Where the Republican conventions are. He didn't respond to that. He didn't come out to the press.
Exactly.
Doug Burgum did, okay, because he was there in the room and he talked about what really happened.
That's
and
right.
Nothing like that was said. But he's not getting involved in these little petty things like with the Jim Acosta types. It's a completely different campaign. It started in the primaries, and we talked about how in the primaries he was going to these small events so that, like, when you went to caucus in Iowa, if you had not met Donald Trump, you were probably in a small room with him, in the months before that.
Right.
So, the campaign's brilliant. And I want to get back to this Logan Paul thing, though, because it was a really good interview. I did listen to the whole thing, but I'm only going to play one clip. And I want to play this clip because Logan Paul asked Donald Trump something that people ask him about all the time. I've seen him asked about it many times. Mm-hmm. Asked him about, are aliens real?
Yes.
And he gave an answer, which I want to talk about, but then he had a little funny joke at the end, so I'm just going to play this part uninterrupted, and then we'll talk about the joke, but also the serious part of it. Do aliens exist? And Logan Paul had said, "Well, don't you have access to this stuff? The classified information." So here it is.
The lines of people waiting. You have no idea how many times I'm asked that question.
But don't you have access to that information?
I have access, and I speak to people about it. I've had actually meetings on it, and they will tell you there's something going on. When they say things are going 4 times faster than my beautiful top-of-the-line airplane that goes, real fast.
With no identifiable propulsion
Mach
system.
2,
yeah.
Right?
These things are creating their own gravity fields, allegedly.
Well, they have people that are very smart and very solid have said they believe there is something out there. And, it makes sense that there could be. I've never been convinced, even despite that. I just, for some reason, it's not my thing. But a lot of people believe that it's true. A lot of very good, solid people believe it's true.
What? And
I know there are illegal aliens out there, but those are the ones that come through the border. We have plenty of that. Those are the ones I know. When you say aliens, I say, are they illegal aliens? These these might be illegal, but we don't want to test them.
Okay, I thought that illegal alien joke at the end was pretty funny. But I want to talk about this. I don't really get involved in aliens. I do not believe aliens are visiting the Earth. I know a lot of you do believe that.
Well, do you believe aliens exist?
Very possibly. It's a big galaxy, big universe.
Ridiculous.
But for some reason, over the last year or two, there's been nonstop press stories about UFOs and aliens.
Yes.
And when President Trump says he doesn't believe in it so definitively, he said it actually a couple times. This was a long segment. I just played the end of it. That if he doesn't believe in it, they're not visiting the Earth because he had access to everything. Okay, and I thought he was pretty definitive about it. Yeah. I don't know why there's so much media coverage.
I know exactly
about aliens. Why?
I figured it out yesterday.
Yeah, why?
Well, first I thought it was to turn people off religion, and there were you scoffed at that, but there were people that called in and agreed with me, or people that left comments. That's part of it, but. I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about how the climate change narrative is dying out and people are fatigued and we're using more emissions now than ever. So all of these so-called efforts, really, they've probably done nothing. And I don't know if there even have been any efforts. But whatever it is, the whole thing about climate change, it's not resonating anymore with people. They're tired of it.
It's fading away.
And it's fading away. And this was in the Wall Street Journal. So they didn't talk about UFOs, but it said there always has to be like a crisis for people, something for people to be afraid of, that the powers that be like to have, like something for people to fear. And I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. I don't know if it has legs, but climate change was not real and people believed it. And I feel, you might think I'm crazy, but I feel like this is the next crisis, global crisis, that the deep state and the powers that be are going to try to use to make money off of, manipulate people. Now, I will say this. My best friend went to Russia in high school. This was in 1988. I don't know why, but her family went to Moscow.
You sure they're not like spies?
Maybe St. Petersburg.
Like the Americans?
Maybe both. My mom's been to St. Petersburg.
Florida? I've been to St. Petersburg, Florida.
No. St. Petersburg, where the Hermitage is. But my best friend went to Russia in high school. They traveled a lot for her dad's business all around, he was in the art business.
Spy
but anyway,
business.
No, he was in the art business. But
cover.
She said to me, he does work for the government though now.
Yeah.
She said to me, she said, Kathy, I swear, and this is my best friend since high school, still my best friend. And she told me when she got home from the trip, she said, Kathy, I swear I saw a UFO. And I'm like, whatever. And she said, I was in my hotel room with my sister and there was a black disc hovering in the sky. And she said, we sat there and stared at it for about 5 minutes. It just hovered. And she said it zipped away so fast. And she's not one to, she's a smart lady. She's not one to think this stuff. And she said, I swear to you, it was real. So I don't know. Do you know anybody that has ever... Trump has actually met Navy pilots that have seen stuff and he doesn't believe
And he's seen the reports and he
still says it's baloney.
I do not believe that aliens are visiting.
I just think that more people would see it than...
Yeah. I do believe that there's probably life elsewhere. The universe is very big, but I don't think they're visiting the Earth. But, another thing, though, about this Logan Paul interview, which was really brilliant, and, we don't have these days, we used to, like in the 80s and 90s, we had like the Christian Coalition and all those groups. We don't really have that anymore. And Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA is kind of like the modern version of the Christian Coalition. I know it's not a Christian organization, but it's different. And I told you guys when I went to it to see Trump here in South Florida at Turning Point, and I had a press pass. I was invited by Charlie Kirk, but it was high school and college kids. Mm-hmm. And I told you, these were the cool kids. These weren't the dorks wearing penny loafers and khakis. These were all the cool kids.
Like Tucker Carlson was in high school.
Like Tucker Carlson was at Turning Point. He was wearing penny loafers and khakis
I'm
and
saying,
the blue blazer.
He was like the kid in high school in the Republican
Yeah, these were all the
club,
cool kids. These are all the cool kids. Right. I mean, they're going to prom with dates. Okay?
I'm just kidding.
And which is a big difference because Republican, there's always been Republican youth groups, but they're always like the geeks and the dork. It's not that way anymore. So he's been very effective, Charlie Kirk, and he is the equivalent of the Christian Coalition. And this interview with Logan Paul, I know a lot of people don't think much of it, and you might think that I'm making too big of a deal. Logan Paul has a huge platform. He has a huge audience, and it reaches across. Look at these. He was going to fight Tyson. Now Tyson's got this health issue. He's a good boxer too. I mean, I've seen him box.
No, he is very well known amongst millennials and Gen Z,
and he's well respected. And I like Logan Paul. I mean, he's a little too juvenile in most things for me because I'm older than him. But I told you he's a good actor, very good actor. I was very surprised. Pretty good boxer. Okay, and I got a little bit of respect for him. He's made a lot of money, very successful. But he said something about Trump. He said something to President Trump in that interview. He says, you've been made a martyr. Mm-hmm, yeah. And I really liked that Logan Paul said that because Logan Paul's not a political guy, but even he sees it.
He sees it.
He sees it. And it tells us that there's been a great awakening in this country. What President Trump has done is I remember when I saw him on Biden's inauguration day, I saw Trump. I was one of the last handful of people that saw him when he was actually president in his first term. Okay, it was the last few minutes. And I talked about it the next day, and I said, we're going to find that having 2 non-consecutive terms is better than 2 consecutive terms.
Yeah, I think so.
And what's happened is the way, Biden's bad, okay? I'm no getting around it. But I tend to think that Biden, it's not just that he's bad because he's typical for the other presidents. They do nothing but cause wars and troubles and screw us all over to get rich. And I think millions of people like Logan Paul and others have been red-pilled because they know how great Trump was, and now they've had this experience with a regular politician in the White House, and they don't like it.
Well, they've been able to compare the two. They've been able to, because Trump had a term, so they're able to compare his term to Biden's term. And Biden is so bad. I know the Italian prime minister, I think she's a big conservative. That blonde lady, she just got elected. She was at the G7, and there's many articles in the news from all different newspapers how bad things were, how bad Biden was, and how he was so out of it, and that the other leaders were concerned. This is what I think is going on. I think the press, and I've said this before, is inundating him and his staff with bad publicity. And they're really pressuring him, and they're discussing these things much more openly than they used to, because they are absolutely desperate to get this guy to step down. Never, I've said it before, it is never, ever, ever going to happen unless they come out with something so bad. But I think they're recording everything he does because they want to catch him with, he was at the G7 and he turned around and was talking to somebody that wasn't there.
He was talking to air.
Yeah. And
open air. He was having a conversation.
Yeah. And I think they want to get him in these moments on camera as much as possible, so there can be pressure and all this. I mean, I've never seen the media turn against except for Clinton. But that was, I don't know about that. But anyway, I just think they're trying to get him to step down. It's not going to happen.
And what they've done with Biden,
they're really making him look bad. He's making himself look bad, but they're not hiding it.
He was in Normandy, which was intense, in this meeting with the leaders, and then they're flying him to California for a fundraiser directly from Italy. They're giving him too much to do, and he's cracking.
Well, do you think he'll follow through with this debate? Because a lot of people have said on Twitter that that's never going to happen. They're like, he's going to get out of it somehow. That something will make it where it doesn't happen.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
When is that debate supposed to be?
I was talking to someone today, a friend of mine on text, okay, and they had some ideas. One of them was kind of wackadoodle, but it does, if you think about it, though, it may make a little sense. There's somebody who's very well connected in political circles in California, okay? And I was talking about Newsom. Newsom released this video where he claims he's protecting the border between California and Mexico with the California National Guard.
He's such a lunatic.
And that video, to me, looked like he was gearing up to run for president because they know the number one issue people are upset about next to inflation is the border. And what this person had told me is there's a lot of talk that Biden will be forced out or step aside after the first debate. And Newsom is preparing to step in for the nomination. And,
how are they going to force him out if he flat out refuses to leave?
They can't.
Exactly. They would have to pull that amendment.
They would have. No, that won't do that because they're going to pass over Kamala too if they were to do that. They're not going to nominate her.
He's never going to step down.
They could make them a deal to pay them off. They could pay him off, and it's up to Jill, not Joe. But anyway. They told me this. They told me this, which sounds kind of wackadoodle, but I've been thinking about it today, and the more I think about it, this could be a possible strategy of Trump. That what they told me is that it depends on what happens so far as Biden being the nominee or not. Depends on how well he does in the debate. Okay, if he does well, he's locked in. If he has a poor performance, he's out. So
let's see how Jake Tapper handles this debate.
Let me finish. So this is what they told me, okay? And this is what was wackadoodle, but it might make some sense. They said Trump may not go so hard on Biden on the first debate because Trump knows that if Biden doesn't do well, they'll plug somebody in, and he'd rather run against Biden.
Right.
So Trump may go easy on Biden in the first debate, not destroy him, so they don't plug somebody else in.
I think
that sounded crazy to me at first, but it kind of makes sense, right?
I think that makes perfect sense. And I really think Trump is going to go into this debate with a very different tone than usual. And I think it would really throw them off if he went there and did not go into name calling, did not look angry. Not that he really does, but sometimes he gets frustrated. I can understand because they cut him off. But stay very calm and just stick to the issues and just say, look, because Biden, of course, is going to keep calling him a convicted felon.
Absolutely.
And then Trump will say, well, so's your son or something. This will go back and forth for a while. But Trump needs to say, look, everybody knows what happened. Let's just stick to the issues here and let's stay focused. It'll be really interesting how Jake Tapper handles Biden. And I think that will be very telling as well. If he's this clip you're about to play is shocking to me.
Yeah,
but that'll be interesting how CNN handles this.
So let me know in the comments, do you think Trump will go in and destroy Biden and have a clear victory, or go easy to not risk them pulling him out and nominate? Now, again, if they nominate someone else, Trump's still going to win. Don't misunderstand me, but I think it's easier with Biden.
I haven't heard any news about moving the RNC to nominate Trump before. I think that's a mistake.
So let us know in the comments what you think about that. Now, I wanted to play this clip. This is Steve Harvey from Family Feud. And
this is crazy.
He was talking about reparations. Very strange.
They done a lot, man, but we see, I'm on this radio show, I'm hearing all these people talking about, I'm not voting if they not doing nothing for us. Listen to me.
Okay, now this is, I just want to give a little setup with Steve Harvey. This is an official White House event, okay, that he's at. The White House sponsored this, and what he's talking about, this is amazing. What Steve Harvey's talking about here is he's getting calls on his radio show from black listeners who say that they're not voting for the Democrats because they're not doing anything for black people. There's obviously a lot of black people are moving towards Trump now, right? And So the White House brought Steve Harvey here to do, they think, to do some type of emergency to get blacks back on the Biden train.
They done a lot, man, but we see, I'm on this radio show, I'm hearing all these people talking about, I'm not voting if they not doing nothing for us. Listen to me. If you do not vote, the analytics will show, they know how many women vote, they know the age you are when you vote. If we don't vote, how we gonna ask for something next time? If you ain't got no voting power, you talking about reparations. Ain't nobody finna give you no reparations and you don't vote. Oh, why you think they finna give us some money? No how, man. I hope they do. They owe us. I go down there. I'm sorry.
That, you know, there was a little laughter, but not as much as you would usually get from him. You know, that is.
This is a multi.
By the way, did I say Paul Harvey? Because that was Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey.
Did I say Paul Harvey
No,
at the beginning?
I think you said Steve.
Okay. I mean, because I was.
He's very funny. He's very good on Family Feud.
Yeah.
And but I don't
Stay
know
out
what
of politics, Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I don't know what this. I
Well, this
love
is-
these multimillionaires calling for reparations.
Yeah,
It cracks
exactly.
me
He's
up.
doing better than most anybody I know, including us. Yeah, you know how much money's in that syndication for Family Feud? Oh my goodness, he's a millionaire many times.
He's a
over.
millionaire. Whoopi's a millionaire. Sonny Hostin's a millionaire.
Exactly.
But you know they're oppressed. So,
But this,
whatever.
the White House bringing in Steve Harvey like this is pure desperation. It's not going to do any good. You know, there's many reasons why so many of these groups that have been longtime Democrats are now moving towards Trump. There's many, many reasons. There's no single reason. But the reality is, if you guys remember, President Trump's been around since the 70s. I've known of Donald Trump since I was a kid. Mentioned many times. First time I saw him was in the 80s on an episode of Robin Leach's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I'd never heard of him, and he was featured on a segment. And I'm like, who was this guy? You know, what's up with that hair? I don't understand. You know, who is this guy? And they had all these movie stars of the day who were talking about him and knew him. Like, wow, who is this guy? But Donald Trump, before he came down the escalator, everyone in America loved Donald Trump. He was like one of the most beloved Americans. That's why NBC started The Apprentice, because he was so loved by everybody and respected for his success. Everybody knew he was born rich, but he wasn't born a billionaire, okay? And everybody knew what he represented and everything that he did. And everybody loved him. And they forgot, I think, for a few years. A lot of people forgot they loved him. And now they've been suffering. Now, I want
to real quick. I want to say happy birthday to President Trump. By the way, what is Steve Harvey saying? Okay, the black community has always voted typically Democrat
from 50
overall,
years,
right?
50, 60 years, yeah.
And which I will never understand. And they have not gotten reparations yet. In fact, they thought they were getting close in California, and then, you know, Newsom basically was like, no, we can't afford it. So what is he saying? If you vote for the Democrats, then you'll get your reparations? Well, why would that be any different than how it's been now? What's going to change?
Yeah.
That, to me, is just lying to people. He's basically lying to them.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like the Biden campaign told him to lie. He's lying to them saying, well, if you vote, then you'll get it. That's baloney. That's not true.
What Democrats do, and they do this with all kinds of groups, okay? Democrats like to hold things over people and never resolve them, but keep promising that if you support them, they'll give you what you want.
I think people are waking up to this nonsense finally.
Rush Limbaugh said, he used to say this all the time, the Democrats have one old playbook. It's worn out. They run the same plays every time. And one of them is, if you support us, whatever group they're talking to, if it's seniors, it's Social Security, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, the Social Security lockbox. Whatever group they're talking to, if you support us, you're going to keep it, you're going to get it. If you vote for the Republicans, you're going to lose it. They never accomplish anything. It's like, I remember Trump went to Schumer and Pelosi and offered amnesty for the Dreamers, and they turned it down. And the reason that Pelosi and Schumer turned down amnesty for the Dreamers is because they wanted to be able to hold that over their head.
Right, that's what they do.
You know, and that's what the reparations is. My name's Brian. Always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We're going to take our first break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to make a six-figure income with little to no prior experience? Want to be your own boss? You can have this too-good-to-be-true career as an auto broker in the automotive industry. Auto brokers are self-employed individuals who work as intermediaries between car dealerships and buyers.
But I don't know anything about being an auto broker.
That's where Go Auto Broker comes in. In our online and print course, How to Become an Auto Broker, you'll learn how to secure leads, the 10 steps to the sale, and all the ins and outs of being an auto broker. An investment in our course is an investment in yourself and your future. Begin your journey and sign up now.
Visit www.GoAutoBroker.com.
Do you want to live a healthier, longer life while saving on your health expenses? You'll learn how to do all that and more with the book from author Dr. Whistler St. Ville, Exercise, the Best Health Insurance, available on Amazon. With health insurance premiums going through the roof, this must-read book will show you a natural and affordable alternative, regular exercise. The author is a renowned physician and sports medicine expert. He shares how you can reduce health costs and boost your well-being through simple, effective exercise. Exercise, the Best Health Insurance, is filled with practical fitness strategies and highlights the incredible benefits of exercise. It also breaks down the complexities of the U.S. health insurance system. Empower yourself with the knowledge to prioritize self-care and learn how to navigate healthcare with confidence. This book is perfect for all ages and fitness levels. It'll become your roadmap to better health and financial security. Don't wait. Start transforming your life today and order your copy of Exercise, the Best Health Insurance from author Dr. Whistler St. Ville, available on Amazon. Take control of your health and your future now. Take a thoughtful and meaningful journey with author Gregory Roller in the book 40 Poems for 40 Years, available on Amazon. In this must-read book of poetry, author Gregory Roller shares words forged in the desert of rebellion, disillusionment, and despair. Whether you're in the desert of desolation or the springs of renewal, these powerful words will encourage you to persevere through life's challenges and to rejoice in its victories, knowing that each day brings you closer to home. 40 Poems for 40 Years is available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook on Amazon. 40 Poems for 40 Years makes a great gift. It's also a perfect addition to your book club. Embrace the wisdom and resilience captured in this remarkable book. 40 Poems for 40 Years from author Gregory Roller on Amazon. Order your copy right now and let the journey inspire you. When you think of democracy, what comes to mind? Freedom, justice, and equality? What if I told you that democracy might not be as ideal as we've been led to believe? In author Jeb Smith's new book, Missing Monarchy, What Americans Get Wrong About Monarchy, Democracy, Feudalism, and Liberty, you'll uncover startling truths about the systems we hold so dear. Missing Monarchy is a real history lesson that challenges conventional wisdom. You'll learn how medieval societies address governance and why their systems might offer valuable insights for today. The author uncovers eye-opening facts about kingship, democracy, and the hidden flaws in our current system. You'll explore how power is truly wielded and why our democratic utopia could be a mirage. This isn't a critique of political sides, but an exploration into the foundations of our governance. Order your copy of this groundbreaking exploration of history and government on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and other online booksellers. Missing Monarchy from author Jeb Smith is available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, Kindle Unlimited, and audiobook. Unlock the secrets of the past to understand our present. Missing Monarchy. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I was just watching on X. Obama tweeted a video about his presidential library, the Obama Presidential Center.
It's a center. It's not a. He's bigger than a library. It's a center.
He shows video of the construction. This is the largest presidential library ever made. It's about the size of the Pentagon, maybe bigger.
Yeah.
It is huge.
That's why it's called a center.
And
I am not surprised.
It is so bizarre. Now, listen.
His ego is so big.
There's a major historical significance to Barack Obama. He's not just the first black president of the United States. he's the first black leader of a major nation. There's been black leaders of other countries, but never a major country. So, but the first black president of the United States, that's a big deal in itself. And he'll always have a place in history. I didn't vote for him either time. But no, believe me. But I understand the historical significance of that. But if you go back to those 8 years, put your mind, I mean, he's got the biggest building ever made for a presidential library. It's got to be. Can you think of any positive accomplishments from his 8 years in office?
No, but I'm sure he'll think of some.
You know, it was if you go back to his time as president, it was a do nothing thing. I know he had Obamacare, which destroyed the private insurance industry.
Here's what I think
accomplishments.
That center is going to be about. There's going to be a lot. This is what I'm guessing, that it's going to show, like, you're going to walk through it, because you and I have been to the Nixon Library, and that was very good.
Yeah.
And you kind of walk through it, and everything's placed in a certain way where you walk through it. It's placed in a way where you're supposed to see it in a certain order. So I think his center, is going to start with the journey of the slave and show that whole thing, 1619, all that stuff, and the whole journey of
it'll probably be his family in Africa,
the black family, and slavery. Nothing wrong with that. Like you said, it's significant. He's the first black president, and then leading up to him being the president, and, like, you know what I'm saying? I think it's going to be heavy on that, and that's fine. I get it, but I agree with you. There's not many accomplishments, but he will think of something. When we went to the Nixon Library, it was really cool. They had the house he grew up in. They moved it there, not a big house, and they also had his presidential car, which was pretty cool.
But Kathy, he had a career. He was Nixon.
No, I know, but I'm going to say, I was telling you that they had, when you go there, it was very heavy on his issues with China. And I remember there was a huge room with all, like, this stuff when they had video on TVs playing him with China and all that stuff.
Nixon had a long career, right?
Yeah.
He was in the Navy. He was vice president for 8 years, right? He had that run with Kennedy and all that. Yeah. He was elected to 2 terms. And he did a lot, like going to China, which turned out to be a terrible thing, because now he opened up China, and now China's, look what they're doing. But he had an entire life of work and accomplishments. Obama taught, when Obama was teaching at law school, when he was in the State House, he taught 1 or 2 classes a year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And he was barely in the state Senate when he ran for the U.S. Senate, and he was only in the U.S. Senate for 2 years, and he spent those 2 years running for president. And so he doesn't have a biographical background like a lot of these guys do to fill up a museum. I think what his the Obama Center is going to be, as big as it is, I think it's going to be kind of like an activist training center is what it's going to be. Training radical activists. That's what I think it'll be. But, I
think it's going to be the whole history of the black community and oppression.
Well,
everything leading up to his accomplishment, which is being the first black president.
There's nothing wrong with that, because being the first black president, I know some people get mad at me, but being the first black president of the United States is a big deal. Not for the reasons he thinks it is, but I've often said, if somebody in 100 years writes a book about the history of civil rights in the United States, they can start it in 1619 if they want, even though the United States didn't exist then. But the end of the civil rights movement is Obama's second inauguration, right? When he was reelected as president, that's the end. That's full equality, because if it was just one term, you could say, oh well, he got lucky, but he was reelected. So it's a big deal. He deserves a presidential library. They all have them, but his is just a little big, and the size of it is because of his overinflated ego.
Well, yeah, but we had talked about that before. I remember you said a while ago that he'll have the biggest library in the country, but Trump hasn't started building his yet.
No, I haven't even heard anything about it.
I know.
And I'm
amazing.
I'm assuming President Trump's presidential library is going to be here near us, near Mar-a-Lago. And I told you, when I'm retired, I'm going to be a volunteer tour guide at Trump's presidential library here in Florida. We live not far from Mar-a-Lago, and they could not find a tour guide that is as knowledgeable about President Trump and his presidency
probably true.
than me. And I'll finally get
outside of his own family.
I'll finally be able to put my history degree and education degree to work by teaching people the greatness of Donald Trump as a tour guide at the Trump Presidential Library.
Well, I want to give a shout out to you too, because the other day we were watching the news and it came out that Trump wanted to, or I read on Twitter or something, that he didn't want to have an income tax, that he wanted to get taxes from tariffs. And I said to you, that's an interesting idea. And you said, yeah. And this was on like yesterday or Wednesday. And you said, well, I mentioned that on the show Monday. And I'm like, you're kidding. And we went to the show Monday and queued it up to where you actually said it. And you said the exact same thing. And I said to you, Trump definitely got that idea from you. It is too random. It is too out of the blue for him to say the same week the exact same thing. Who's ever thought of that you said about having no income tax and instead get money from tariffs? Because you said that's how they used to do it.
What happened on Monday's radio show, and
that's amazing.
And the radio station is right up the street from Mar-a-Lago, and they do listen. And I have been told many times by people in Trump's orbit that he's listened to me on the radio. Okay, more than once. And Eric and Don Jr. listened to me on the radio. And on Monday show, we were talking about Trump in Vegas, talking about eliminating the tip tax. And I'd gotten a call. It was Greg 2 I was talking to, Greg 2, and he was against it. And I said, I don't think anybody should be. He said, well, why don't you get a tax break? I said, I don't think anybody should be paying income tax. And he says, well, then how are you going to pay for everything? And I said, import taxes. The whole country. About 100 years ago and before, there wasn't too much of an income tax. There had been an income tax here and there, but it wasn't like it is today.
He does understand why the whole country was formed, right? The whole reason behind it was because of taxes.
And the way before there was income taxes as we currently have them, the entire federal government was funded through import taxes. And at that time, the most powerful and most sought-after job in American government was to be the head of the New York port, because that was the number one port, and that's where all the taxes were collected, was the port in New York.
I'm reading this book.
Well, so what you had talked about is Trump yesterday said that he said there should be no income taxes. It should be done through tariffs, which is import taxes. And when you told me that, I was like, oh my, because that's really an outside the box kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's not your typical thing. And he was in town on Monday.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
You never know. You never know. So what was it you
No, I'm finishing that book, Killing the Witches, about Bill O'Reilly, and he's talking about the beginning of the country. And I did not know this. When they had the Constitutional Convention, which was like 10 years after the Revolutionary War, they were still individual like states with governors, and there were some people, they had like, 2 representatives from each state at the convention, but not everybody showed up. And James Madison and others did not want a federal government. They were really afraid of it getting too powerful.
They didn't want a strong federal government.
They didn't want any federal government at all.
Yeah.
They said they're afraid it would get too powerful. They were obviously outvoted, and that they wanted to keep it where there were just states and just kind of unified, like United States, but not have a big overpowering. And I think they were afraid of things like that, of taxes and things like that happening. And look how big the federal government is now. I mean, it's like they foresaw all this happening. And you have these federal police forces and all this stuff. I mean, what's happening now is really so much what the founding fathers were against, was having a big overseeing government and a big government police force and all this. That was, the soldiers were here, living amongst the people, living in homes. They had to house them, and they were very present. And so, we are our own country, but a lot of those things have happened, and that's what they were afraid of, some of them. So that was just, I didn't know that. So that was just interesting. I thought they were all on the same page with that, but when they were forming the Constitution, that was something that they weren't all on board with, but eventually, obviously, they
were
had a
right.
president.
They were right. They knew.
Yeah.
They knew. We've been.
It's gotten too big, the federal government. For sure.
We've been watching this show. Well, not too much because Kathy doesn't like it, but I like it. We've been watching this old show from the 60s and early 70s, the FBI. With
some of the episodes are okay.
With Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Yeah, I like him.
And this show about the FBI was actually run by J. Edgar Hoover himself. He approved everything, the casting, the stories, everything. And because he was still around and very well involved. So it was a very popular show. It was on for 5, 6, 7 years. And it's propaganda for the FBI. Mm-hmm. But it's a good show. I like it. Kathy doesn't like it. I like it. I watch it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the most interesting show ever made, okay? But it's okay. Some of the episodes are really good. A lot of them are not. But I do enjoy it. And we watch it, on Tubi?
Yes.
On Tubi. So anyway, in the beginning of the show, in the beginning credits on every episode, they put up the mission of the FBI up on the screen as part of the opening credits. And it's a paragraph. And at the end, it's what the FBI's mission is. And what the last sentence is the FBI's mission is to stop enemies of the government. Okay? Not protect the people, but stop enemies of the government. And when I see that, it's the beginning of every episode. It's in the opening credits. And I told Kathy, I said that's why they're after Trump. They think Trump's an enemy of the government.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's not. He's not. This election, I know every election they say is the most important election of our lives. And they always are because it's the one that's going to affect you now. The other ones have already happened. But it is very true that this election is the most important election any of us have ever had an opportunity to participate in. This election is as much of a turning point as Lincoln's first election or even his second election because the country, with Lincoln, when Lincoln was running in 1860, Lincoln said the country cannot survive half slave, half free, right?
Right.
And that is really what the decision that's being made now is. Is this country going to go forward free or slave? And what I mean by that is we are slaves of the federal government. That look, all this oppression that's gone on by the federal government because the populists support Trump and they can't have it. They can't have it. Donnie Deutsch, I played this clip this morning. I won't play it now, but I played it a couple times this morning. Donnie Deutsch said on MSNBC, he said the problem isn't Trump, it's the people that are voting for him. 75 million people last time, maybe more this time.
So, and Adam Schiff said that we were immoral.
Yeah, so Schiff,
this is how they think. They really think that we're a problem.
So what Donnie Deutsch and Schiff are saying is that the greatest threat to the United States are the American people. Because we're not doing what Adam Schiff and Donnie Deutsch want, or the DC insiders want. It is scary. So the decision that's being made in this election is this country going to go forward free or as slaves, and not half free and half slave, all slave or all free, because we're not free. Now I want to play this clip. This is Jill Biden today, and she doesn't sound like a woman that's ready to have her husband step aside.
No, not going to happen.
Listen to this.
This election is most certainly not about age. Joe and that other guy are essentially the same age. Let's not be fooled. Joe isn't one of the most effective presidents of our lives in spite of his age, but because of it.
Okay. This thing that they're doing,
it's crazy,
is trying to equate their ages. Because Biden's 2 or 3 years older than Trump. And it's not the age; it's the brain health.
I think it's a mistake to even talk about it for her. It's only going to emphasize even more the vast difference between these two because people are going to hear her and say, you know what, they're the same age, and look how bad Biden is.
Exactly.
It's only going to make people compare the two. I think it's stupid to talk about it, to acknowledge it from her point of view. They're on the defensive and they're trying to sell this lie to the American people that he's totally with it when we see for ourselves that he's bumbling around and speaking to people that aren't there, shaking hands with people that aren't there. And when he talks, it's like one big mumble. I mean, we're not blind. You know, I just always think of that scene in The Naked Gun when Leslie Nielsen's in front of that building on fire, and he says, nothing to see here, or even better, that reporter at CNN where he was at those riots and the whole building behind him was on fire, and he said, oh, it's very peaceful here. I mean, they gaslight you. They tell you what you see is not true, and then they tell you what you don't see is true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all BS.
That's exactly
It's all
right.
gaslighting.
That's right. Now, I want to tell you guys about the great American patriot, Mr. Mike Lindell, the inventor of the MyPillow. And this special that's going on the mattress toppers is an amazing special. I want to tell you guys about it. You know, Kathy and I have the mattress topper. The mattress toppers are as much as 50% off. It depends on which one you get. The mattress topper 2.0 is 40% off, and the 2-inch one is 50% off, okay? We have the 2-inch mattress topper on our guest bed. It's spectacular. We have the 2.0, which is a 3-inch mattress topper on our marital bed. It is spectacular, too. And the mattress toppers, listen to this. The mattress toppers, as much as 50% off. They come in every mattress size. Listen to what you get with this. Free shipping. This is with our promo code Kane at checkout, by the way. Kane at checkout at mypillow.com. 50 or 40% off, depending on which one you choose. Free shipping.
Mm-hmm.
A money-back guarantee. Isn't that something? A money-back guarantee.
Amazing.
And I did not know this. A 10-year warranty. A 10-year warranty. What do you got to lose? The only thing you got to lose are those restless nights, okay? You're not going to want to return and get your money back because it's that good. We love it. And anytime I travel and I'm sleeping without it, I notice the difference. You will sleep deeper than you've ever slept before. So go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, as much as 50% off, free shipping, a money-back guarantee, and a 10-year warranty on the MyPillow mattress toppers, all of them, with our promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout at mypillow.com. My name's Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll take a quick break and be back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
Have you ever heard that laughter is the best medicine? You'll find out how true that is with your weekly Therapy podcast, available on all podcast platforms. Host Tell and Anne-Marie, your not-so-typical therapist and nurse practitioner duo, have a flair for ADHD and life's hilarities. They'll make you laugh, cry, and maybe even rethink some of your life choices. And that's just in one episode. And no topic is off limits. Tell and Anne-Marie discuss everything from gaslighting, daily life with ADHD, and relationships. Add your weekly Therapy podcast to your podcast playlist, available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can catch the video podcast on YouTube. Don't just cope, laugh, learn, and sip some therapy. It's therapy with a twist. Share the podcast on all your social media so your friends can tune in too. Your weekly Therapy podcast. Start listening right now. Men, are you tired of looking tired? You can turn your tired eyes into a vibrant and refreshed look with a specially formulated under-eye cream for men at Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. That's MEDITATI. This anti-aging formula is designed to repair and protect your eyes against the common signs of aging. Dark circles, puffiness, and those pesky crow's feet, gone. With Meditati, you'll say goodbye to those tired eyes and hello to a youthful appearance. It's packed with peptides, vitamin C, jojoba oil, green tea, CoQ10, and other essential ingredients. This formula will keep your under eyes bright and refreshed. It also keeps your skin hydrated with the highest quality natural and organic ingredients. It's crafted by skincare experts, and this non-greasy, lightweight formula absorbs quickly and efficiently, nourishing the skin around your eyes. So if you're tired of puffiness and wrinkles, go right now to Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. That's MEDITATI. Don't miss out on this chance to give your eyes the care they deserve, because you and your eyes deserve it. Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. From authors A.W. Guerrera and Kelly C. Hogan comes Second Strike, Danger Close, the second book in their explosive trilogy, now available on Amazon. 1 year after a devastating terrorist attack on the United States, retired Delta Force member Luke Ellis and college freshman Annie Dedham are back. Together, they embark on a high-stakes, cross-country mission to prevent global war between the United States and China. With the help of a self-aware AI, Luke and Annie face off against China Chinese special forces, and a sinister AI. But the AI may be under the influence of an even darker force. As the clock ticks down, sacrifices must be made. Will Luke, Annie, and the AI be enough to stop impending war? Find out when you read Second Strike, Danger Close, from authors A.W. Guerrera and Kelly C. Hogan, available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. Don't miss out on this heart-pounding sequel. Order your copy right now.
This is Lori Kane, and I want to ask you a question. How important is a good night's sleep, and when was the last time you got one? I get one each and every night with the MyPillow mattress topper. They're 50% off now with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout at MyPillow.com. Pair it with new pillows and those fabulous Giza Dream Sheets. There's huge discounts on those, too. Free shipping on all orders over $75 with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at MyPillow.com. You'll thank me in the morning.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I wanted to play this audio. This is pretty funny. There was a Blexit event in Detroit yesterday. All right, Blexit, it's the blacks exiting the Democrat Party. And there's a little video here that was made by a couple. They're black. And they were on their way to the Blexit event, which is a Black MAGA event. And some white liberal saviors stopped to give them a warning. Listen to this. Pretty funny. It's so typical of liberals.
So me and Darrell were walking to the Blexit event, right? We're walking across the street, and this white woman comes up behind us. And firstly, she asks us, "Oh, is it always crowded down here?" Because we're in Detroit. Never been to Detroit before, but the first red flag was her assuming that we're from here. I'm assuming because, we're Negroes. Then she proceeds to tell us, "Oh, you guys know Trump is here. You better watch out. I've seen a lot of white MAGAs walking around with the American flag. You guys, be careful, guys." Hate crime. How do you feel about the hate crime?
I'm offended. I feel threatened. I don't know how I'm going to go on my life.
Little does she know we're on our way to the convention.
I've been having a lot of fun watching.
That's funny.
These black people react. They're finally realizing how bigoted the Democrats are. And there have been two videos on TikTok. And one, I thought I was going to wake Brian up. I was laughing so hard. And it's the voiceover of Governor Hochul talking about how black people don't know what computers are.
Oh, yes, that was.
And there's a guy, he looks like a caveman. It's a black guy. And he runs into Apple like on all fours with tattered clothes, like he's literally a caveman.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the computers and he picks it up and he's sniffing it. And it scares him. He jumps back and falls back. Like, what is this thing? I've seen two videos like that where obviously they're having fun with what Hochul said. Hochul, what she said about blacks not knowing what a computer is. It's crazy.
And that's, I couldn't believe she said that.
So racist. I really hope the black community understands. I sent it to our daughter. She thought it was not. Our daughter's biracial. She's half black. And she's like, that is so insulting.
It is.
And I mean, our daughter's like a computer wizard, okay? But she knows, people call Emily tech support in our house. That's how good she is with
including
computers. So whatever. And Emily's like, that is so racist. And I said, that's how Democrats are. They really think, they have always thought, they don't see it, but they've always thought less of the black community. They've always taken advantage of them. They were the slave owners. You all know this, the history. And I really feel like finally the black community is finally realizing what they're dealing with here and how they have been lied to and manipulated. And for Steve Harvey to go out, he knows what he said is a bunch of BS. For him to go out there and tell people that they're going to get reparations if they vote. What a jerk. Here's a guy who's a multi-millionaire and saying they owe us.
Yeah.
What do we owe him? I mean, hardworking Americans, just because they happen to be white, My family's not connected to slavery.
Yeah.
Neither is Brian's. They're from Ohio and stuff.
Can you imagine?
I owe him this multimillionaire money and Whoopi Goldberg. This is crazy.
Can you imagine how many millions he's made just off of Family Feud? I mean, it's crazy. Now, Biden today, I want to play this clip. Biden today, he had a run-in with a TikTok influencer at a press event. And you know how the White House under Biden, they keep inviting TikTokers over because they think it's cool and hip, and it really backfired. So this is Biden losing his cool at this TikTok.
Which is not hard to do.
And I know you're a typical press guy. You're grabbing me in front of this all of a sudden. I trust you as far as I throw your phone. I have a good arm, man.
Wow, I have a good arm, man. I trust you as much as I can throw this phone. I have a good arm, man. I mean, that's very. And when he did that,
just a thug. He's just a thug.
When Biden did that, he got up in the guy's personal space, really close to him. That's very. He's president, and he's got Secret Service.
He likes to get in everybody's personal space.
I don't know
Children,
if he snipped his hair,
men, women. It doesn't matter. That to me,
was really intimidating.
When you get, I don't like people getting into my personal space at all.
No one does.
Nobody does. And when you're the kind of person that does that you're showing your dominance over that person. You are it's a hostile move, okay, as far as I'm concerned. If somebody gets, your personal space is what, like 3 feet, they say, 3 feet circumference around you. And if people unless you're at a party and it's really loud and you're talking over the crowd, that's different. But when people get like that and they're like in a threatening tone, just moving in on somebody that close, it to me is a hostile move. And what Biden is just not a nice man. I mean, how many videos have you ever seen Trump threaten somebody like that? Have you ever seen Trump be nasty and I'm not saying to people like Hillary Clinton, but just like to reporters or other than Jim Acosta who deserved it. But you know what I mean? Trump doesn't seem like threatening like that in a way. When he does it, it's like a joking.
And, Biden, he had another run-in with the press yesterday.
Biden's not nice.
He had a press conference in Europe yesterday, and a reporter asked a question about a topic that they're not supposed to ask him about. I can't remember what it was. And Biden said, "Oh, you don't obey the rules. There's no rules.
Wow.
Reporter, you're president of the United States, not the president of the Soviet Union.
Exactly.
The press are supposed to hold you accountable, and they can ask you anything."
He has lived in that bubble for so long.
Well, what had happened with that is because Biden's out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. He says things that he would filter when he was with it. And he let it be known that there's a list of questions that the press have been told not to ask him about. Who do they think they are? And it's interesting to see that the press are not obeying them anymore because they know they're on the way out.
On the Golden Girls, the character Sophia, her character has no filter and they blame it on a stroke. It's like in the first episode, she says whatever's on her mind and it's always rude, but what she says is always funny, but it's rude. And they say, well, she had a stroke and it damaged the part of her brain where she can't filter what she says. But when she did it, it was cute and funny. I think Biden has no filter anymore. Maybe he never did. But I mean, you know what? I've seen video when he was in his 40s. Remember and yelling at people, voters, yelling at them and lying about his resume. And I'm smarter than you. And this, he's got problems, this guy. And, they're stuck with him. I'm sorry.
Well, what happens with people when they get older and they get dementia and Alzheimer's is they're negative. They either become nicer or meaner.
I don't know, but he's kind of always been this way, hasn't he? That's what my mom said about older people.
He was always nasty and rude, but not like he is now. I mean, he is completely out of control now. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, everyone. And if you would like to become a top Patreon or a Patreon supporter at all, there's a link in the description of the program on whatever platform you're listening to. And there's many perks. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every podcast episode. So if you want to become a top Patreon supporter, I'll tell you how to do it there too. So you get the thank you shout-out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P., Carlos, Paulette, John, K-Mac, Alice, Richard, Maria in Texas, David, Heather, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, and of course, Christy R. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. Again, if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.